Tonight on Live from the Theater Basement. Yes, and we'll talk about improv. Instead of reading this script, I should really be making it up as I go along, shouldn't I? Anyway, Northern Arizona University's improv group, Naughty Bits, with James Wallis and Emma Parry. And we'll be talking about arts leadership in general. Tonight on Live from the Theater Basement.
Experience an elevated senior living lifestyle at The Bluffs in beautiful Flagstaff, Arizona. Imagine an intimate and authentic retirement lifestyle enhanced by custom-tailored 5-star quality service in an upscale community at the edge of a picturesque mountain. The Bluffs in Flagstaff, Arizona.
I'm your host, Chris Verrill. Tonight, our correspondent, Jamie Stanton, will be talking with arts leaders at Northern Arizona University, including their improv group, Naughty Bits. Tonight on Live from the Theater Basement.
Thanks, Chris. Today on Live from the Theater Basement, I have the honor of interviewing 2 student leaders from the NAU Theater Department. As president of NAU's Arizona Playmakers, James Wallis leads their weekly meetings and works persistently to keep the club running and produce student productions such as New Works. AZP is the parent organization of the improv troupe Naughty Bits, of which Emma Parry is the director. Welcome, both of you, to the show. Thank you for having us. No problem. James, what does Arizona Playmakers do for the students of the theater department?
Right. So I think that one of the most important things that Arizona Playmakers does is provide a space for the students to be sort of maximally creative with minimal input from the people who would normally be like grading them and evaluating them, and judging as well, not in a derogatory way necessarily, but like seeing you doing the work. It's a lot different when it's just with your peers, and so I think that AZP is a really good space for the students to express themselves as they most fully are in a way that isn't necessarily something you can do in a classroom.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
What sort of committees do you have, and what sort of things do you produce?
So we have 6 committees, all of which are sort of involved with the functioning of the club. So we have a PR committee, we have a writer's workshop, which is where the plays are written and critiqued for New Works, which I'll get into later. We've also got a production committee, which is generally deals with the sort of production of New Works and the actual physical procuring of things and management and coordination of those events. We've also got 2 committees for Naughty Bits, which are, I'm sure Emma can talk about what those do. And what's the one I'm forgetting? Oh, treasurer. We have the money one. Yeah, that helps us figure out what, how we can spend our funds, how we can raise funds, that sort of thing. The main things that we put on are New Works, which is a collection of student-written and directed and acted and produced shows. They're all about 10 to 20 minutes, and we do it once every year. And then the improv shows, which I'm sure Emma can talk about.
Yeah. Emma, what does being the director of an improv troupe entail?
A lot, and it's not exactly what you would think either. I was a director of my high school improv troupe, and now as a director of a college improv troupe, you do a lot of very different things. Most of my job involves not only just coaching and captaining and that kind of stuff, but it's a lot of administrative work. So I have to find the spaces, coordinate with the people in charge to get those spaces, talk with True Blue Connects, which is our the organization that does stuff for NAU clubs.
They're so awesome.
And I have to make sure we can even do events, sign up, stuff like that. And then on top of that too, something that I've noticed is college improv is a lot of not necessarily reassurances, but a lot of people in our improv team aren't even in the theater department. They're not even theater students. I myself am a bio major. I'm not even a minor. I don't even like I'm not really in the theater department, and most of our improvisers also are not in the department, or they have secondary majors. And so my job is to kind of not only coach them improv, but like kind of like let them know that like, yeah, you're supposed to be here, because a lot of times, especially with us, is we have that department, and department kind of takes like a priority sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard for people who aren't in the department to feel that kind of connectedness with other like students. And so it's kind of our job as a troupe, and my job as the director of the troupe to be like, hey, like, yeah, let's go hang out, let's go do something, and make them feel like they have a place there, because a lot of times that isn't really there.
Yeah, it sometimes feels pretty alienated, you know, or like it's this cloistered thing, and then there's naughty bits, you know, so it's good to get rid of those walls, you know, as much as possible. But yeah, a lot of our job is management.
Most of it, yeah.
Interesting. So, for the improv troupe, you really have a way of offering community to people who like performing arts, but not necessarily theater.
Yeah, and with that, I really like that you said that. It was a really good like turn of phrase to put it. Is they like the community, but they don't like a lot of people don't like scripted.
Or the commitment. Takes, you know.
There's so many rehearsals, and I love doing acting. I respect that so much. But I also recognize like one of our improvisers is a computer science major, and he is very busy all the time, and he can't always give in the 3, 4, 5 hours a week that it requires to do a full show. Whereas improv, it's like twice a week, a couple hours, come goof off, and then we do a show, and it's a lot less like high stakes.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like having fun with your friends.
It's more like a pressure valve that you're releasing a little bit. I think it's a really good way to let off steam, whereas, as I mentioned prior, I think that the main stages and like the other stuff that is done by like official things can be sometimes, you know, it's a place for judgment and ultimately a place for making a profit too,
right?
You know, because it has to be profitable.
It puts more pressure on the students.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I have a question for both of you, which we kind of touched on a little bit, but to get into further detail, why is student leadership important in theater specifically, but also in academia in general?
You want to go first?
I think definitely something, I'm an RA, so I do a bunch of stuff with students outside of like academia. I'm living in the halls with people, my peers. And something that I found with my time as an RA and also as a student leader is students are very much not receptive to like authority or older people kind of telling them what to do. That's kind of why their RAs exist in college campuses, because if it was just like the RHD telling you not to do things, then of course, you know, it's college. You're your own person.
Do it. Yeah.
For the first time in your life, you want to like do those types of things, whereas if it's us, it's kind of like, we're like cool parents. We're the ones who kind of are like, this is what we need to get done, and it's less like, it's less pressure on them, but also I feel like it's a lot easier to respond to.
I think so too. Yeah, I think that it is a little bit like with Emma and I as a student, part of the student leadership, it's sort of like we're older, we've been around a little bit more, you know, so we can still offer that advice sometimes and be sort of like an example or a model of how you might want to be like, you know, or something like that, or what you might not want to be like, and that sort of thing, in a way that's a little bit more accessible than like someone who's, you know, faculty or staff or something like that. I think it's important for students to be interacting with people who are them as well. Which, you know, there is the power relation of the instructor and the student, which is, I think, lessened a lot, as much as we can. I know we work really hard to make ourselves approachable, to get rid of that relationship as much as possible while still allowing for things like coaching and all that, and coordination. So.
Well, and something else too is I think student leadership provides a really good opportunity to practice skills. I feel like I am a lot more confident now, even in just these past couple of years, being able to, I know how to sign up for things, I know how to reach out and talk to people.
Right.
That I would, if I hadn't had to do that constantly, I don't think I would be as comfortable or confident even doing it.
Interesting. I really like those responses, especially you noting that students often take advice from people they see as their peers when they wouldn't take it from people who they see as authority figures.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is very true for college students.
Yeah.
My last question is, student leadership is a very temporary thing sometimes for each person. So for the students taking your positions after you, maybe next year, maybe in the years coming, do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to give them?
That's hard.
I know, you can take a second to think about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think I have mine, which is that you may be suffering from imposter syndrome, or you may be thinking like, I can't do this, or this is all brand new. That's normal. I think that like that type of like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm terrified of what I'm doing, that is like the most normal reaction anyone can have, because if you walk into a leadership position confident, I don't think you're fully prepared for what you have to do. So like take that nervousness, take that energy with you, and just know that you're going to do a good job, and that there is a learning curve. And even if you're the top dog, like you're the biggest fish in the pond, there's always going to be a bigger pond. Yeah. And just accept that and know that you can do good things.
Yeah, I think for me personally, one of the things that I found most kind of important to my confidence in my roles and those sorts of things is situating it within the context that it exists within, on a longer timeline and in your own place, you know, because the truth is, and it sounds bad at first, but it is really quite comforting, is that most of what you are struggling with or doing, period, is not unique to you. Probably pretty normal. So I think it's important to recognize that, and it gives you the freedom to do things that are more unique if you realize that your conditions are pretty, you know, ordinary most times, you know. So I think that definitely helped me, is like, oh, this isn't new. We struggled with this before, you know, whoever was in this role, however long ago, you know, they struggle with this stuff too, you know. It's very comforting to feel like you're part of a group that has struggled, so.
I definitely agree. Thanks for that advice, and thanks for being on Life in the Theater Basement. Yeah. Back to you, Chris.
For years and years, Fratelli Pizza has supported arts organizations throughout Northern Arizona. They've been wonderful community stewards, partners, and neighbors. And guess what? All 3 stores are open for delivery or carry-out today. On Monday, May 25th, order lunch or dinner for delivery or carry-out and help give back to your local pizza heroes. Fratelli Pizza, thank you. We'll see you Monday.
Our correspondent today, Jamie Stanton. Thank you very much, Jamie. Jamie's been helping us out. We've been doing this show for a year and a half. Jamie's helped us out for the last few months. Thank you very much for not just hosting and corresponding today, but for helping the show out in general. A special thanks also to our guests, Emma Parry and James Wallis. Live from the theater basement, producers Jamie Stanton and Linda Sotero. Engineer Matt Brewer. Technician Ava Haynes. Associate producers Virginia Brown, Joe Maniglia, and Michael Rulon. Correspondents Mackenzie Chase, Jamie Hasapis. Crew Justin Moscow, Isabella Zagari. Dramaturgy Theatrikos Artistic Committee. Play Curation Northern Arizona Playwriting Showcase. Executive producer Chris Farrell. Live from the theater basement, dropping every Sunday evening at 7:30 p.m. and available wherever you get your podcasts, is a production of Theatrikos Theatre Company in partnership with Northern Arizona Playwriting Showcase and Deuteron Films. Theatrikos Theatre Company, Flagstaff, Arizona, is the theater company of Northern Arizona and the Grand Canyon, embracing the spirit of Broadway with such shows as the hilarious comedy The Foreigner, opening on May 20th. Tickets available now. Live from the theater basement, the weekly podcast streaming show from Theatrikos Theatre Company alternates between 10-minute short plays and interviews with Arizona arts leaders. If you, as a listener-viewer, have input, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at theater@theatrikos.com. Live from the theater basement, new episodes each week on Sunday evenings at 7:30 p.m. and available wherever you get your podcast, is funded in part by Creative Flagstaff, formerly the Flagstaff Arts Council, and the Arizona Community Foundation. Additional funding from the Arizona Commission on the Arts, BBB revenue of the city of Flagstaff, Flagstaff 365, Calf Country Radio, and patrons of the arts like you. Thanks for joining us tonight on Live from the Theater Basement. This is Theatrikos. Coming up next week on May 15th on Live from the Theater Basement, we'll talk with poet Eric Bitsui, who will read his poem, Today on the Res. That's Sunday, May 15th at 7:30 p.m. and wherever you get